Hi, and thanks for joining me again. Today I'll be sharing with you my thoughts about how to choose the right sun hat for your backpacking trip. There's a few key features that I think are important to look for when buying a sun hat. And those are as follows. So the first thing is basically I think it's important to find something that has a wide brim that goes all the way around your head to keep the sun off your face and off your nose and ears and off the back of your neck so you don't get burned. And also it'll be more comfortable. However, something that's important to keep in mind is you don't want the brim to be so wide that the back of it is rubbing up and hitting the inside of your backpack. So try to find something that does have a wide brim, but that's not like massive, or you're gonna have issues with it. Next thing, probably one of the most important things about finding a sun hat is make sure it's got a draw cord. Preferably one that's adjustable. It should certainly be one that's adjustable, so that you don't lose your hat in a gust of wind when you're on a mountaintop. Basically, your sun hat can potentially be the difference between having an enjoyable experience and having a miserable experience. If you're out there for too long without any sun protection on your head, you could get a pretty bad headache. You could potentially get sunstroke. We definitely want to try to avoid that. So make sure you don't lose your hat by having a draw cord that you can tighten up. Another thing is, I think it's important to have some kind of ventilation system so that your head doesn't overheat inside the hat. And it could be, something as simple as a couple little vent holes, or it could be some kind of a mesh panel around the brim. One thing I would say to try to avoid is some sun hats have like this entire section is mesh, and although that might be nice and cool, it seems to me that the sun can still beat down directly on your forehead and on your whole head basically, which semi defeats the purpose of some of the aspects of a sun hat. So I think it's important to try to find something that that has some ventilation, but that's not exposing your whole head, basically, or large sections of it. Next thing is the material. I think that I prefer to have a sun hat in a synthetic material because it's quicker drying, and it is true that most of the time when we're wearing a sun hat, we're probably in hotter weather. And typically certain cotton, it's preferable usually to wear cotton clothes against your skin in hotter weather. However, I do think that there's enough times where I'm out in sunny but cooler weather where I don't necessarily want a cotton sweaty hat against my head. So I prefer to have one in a synthetic material, but whatever you think is better for you is fine. And the last thing, which isn't the biggest deal in the world, but I do think it's important for me anyway, is I try to find a hat that's, in general, all my clothes, I try to find them in earth tones that are kind of on the darker side so that it doesn't show up every little bit of dirt that you picked up on the trail, just so that when you go into town afterwards, you don't look too grungy. And those are my thoughts about sun hats. Feel free to leave me your thoughts on what I said, and if you think there's anything that I left out, feel free to add it in the comments. Thanks for watching.